Well, hello there. Hi, Bacon Boys. It's me, Alex from Vatica. I'm just stopping by to let you know that I got a brand new song coming out this Friday. You can pre-save it right now on Spotify or by going to any of my social media and just clicking on the bio link. It's 2 taps to pre-save. Super easy. The song's called Is It Enough? And it's about trying to survive in this dystopian hellscape reality that we live in. It's anthemic, it's catchy, big hooks, big guitars, super fun. Hope you check it out, and I am looking forward to being on your show soon.
Welcome, everybody, to Discussions and Drinks.
Yes!
Today, we're going to talk about politics and religion.
No, please.
No. I don't know. Put the intro on, and we'll see what happens.
Well, much like most of our discussion and drinks seem to start with, it's pizza.
Yeah.
Like, it's become a thing.
It was going to be way funnier if I said, today we talk about, and then it just went to the intro.
Oh.
But that would have been funny, but that's okay.
Wait, do it again.
Hey, everybody.
Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon! Bacon is my... Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon is my...
Timeout time.
How those balls looking?
You know what season is, right?
I do indeed. It is time.
It is time for smooth sack summer. And how do I keep everything smooth, everything tidy, everything the way it should be?
Well, I don't know how you do, but I'll tell you how I do. Manscaped, buddy. You know it. You've been listening. You've been seeing the show. We've been talking about it. You know how much we love the crop mops. You know how much we love the lawnmower, but they have the Performance Package 4.0 now.
Where they did a little upgrade to the Weed Whacker. Weed Whacker is, of course, the nose and ear hair trimmer. It is now the 2.0, as opposed to the 1.0. Now,
right. That's one better.
I used the 1.0, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then they sent the 2.0, and I said, how could it be better? It is. It just is. I don't know how they do it, but Manscaped keeps upping their game. And
I've been digging the lawnmower for a long time. Right. I like the skin-safe technology. I still use the guard. But no. I have not once nicked a thread on the beanbag.
Yes.
Not once.
Yep.
Now, you don't want to lose any beans.
No.
Everyone.
No, you
You don't want to lose beans, and with other methods, oh man, you could lose a bean.
Yeah.
But not with Manscaped.
Exactly. And also, they are getting into the beard game. They've got their brand new beard trimmer, which is fantastic. So go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code BACONPOD, and that will give you 20% off and free shipping.
That's right. So don't forget to work on those testicles, your chesticles, and your cheeks. Keep them clean and ask yourself, what's your bacon? Smooth Sack Summer. Oh, that's... Yes. Yes. I'm a fan.
Guys,
a fan of this.
welcome to Discussion and Drinks,
Indeed.
where we have somebody from way yonder north, right? He's from up north.
Sure.
Is Indiana north of here?
Is it?
Slightly west.
Slightly west.
Is it? It's not north?
I think it's slightly west.
Yeah. But it is west.
It is definitely west.
Northwest.
Yeah.
Northwest of us.
Northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself, sir.
Mike Earley from northwestern Indiana.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we got a pizza from Umberto's for those of you that are on Long Island. It's delicious. We went margarita pie with pepperoni. Gotta say, I'm a fan. It's good stuff.
Yep. So, Jim's buddy, longtime buddy, has come and decided to join us for some discussion and drinks.
Yeah, he has bestowed himself
Upon us, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
He even got to like sit and watch us do an episode. He was just kind of like a head, like that kind of peeked out the back
Every
of
now
the
and
last
then.
episode.
Every now and
Disembodied
then.
head.
Yeah.
Floating in and out.
Right? Like the sun,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just rising in the east.
But he's
Shining brightly.
Shining bright. Shining bright.
So we had to get him some pizza.
Yeah.
Umberto's has to be. Like that's our like fave.
Yeah,
around here.
that's one you got to kind of do when you're here. What do you think? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's good. It's delicious. So
Nice.
yeah, I am. Thanks.
Excellent. Our drink today, we are doing a Bushmills. We found a Prohibition recipe. Never had it. I've had plenty of Bushmills. Never even seen this. Didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, interesting. That could mean that it's bathwater, or it could mean that it's amazing.
Yeah,
'Cause during Prohibition, I would say they probably didn't. You know, it was aged in the dirt, out in the woods somewhere in a mason jar, maybe.
Yeah, I at first I was like, oh, this is super interesting, and then I realized most people went blind because of the way they made alcohol in Prohibition. So.
Right. So we're gonna give it a test.
It's potent.
It smells potent. Yeah.
It smells potent.
Here we go. Oh,
I mean that's
I like it.
it's drinkable.
Yeah, it's smooth.
It is.
There's
It
a little
is.
bit of a burn and a little bit of a kick,
Now I feel
like
the burn.
back of the tongue a little bit and a little bit back in the throat here.
The burn happened way later though.
Yeah.
Like I'm used to it hitting my throat and immediately burning.
I got some sweetness.
This
in
like
there.
yes, there was definitely some sweetness in there. I like it.
What are your thoughts, buddy?
It is good in that the burn does come at the end. Less potent than what were we just having? The
With Blanton's.
yeah. Definitely less potent than that.
Yeah.
Very very
That was
very
That
drinkable.
was bourbon whiskey.
Yeah.
But this is good. Was it like one of their more expensive bottles, or was it just
It was just kind of there.
another?
You know, yeah, it wasn't even that much more expensive than any of the other ones.
Right.
Yeah, it was right around the same price as just their regular bottle, which surprised me a little bit too, because a lot of times you'll get that they'll up the price when they put a new word
Right.
when they put a new word on the bottle.
That's weird because
I think there's a dollar per character when they put a new word on the bottle. They're like Prohibition, so this one's gonna be
right. I like that. I think the taste. So what's funny about this is like you can taste it before it burns.
Yeah.
Where a lot of times it's like it takes you a few sips and getting used to the burn
Right.
until you start to taste it. But it tastes immediately, and the burn on the after.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that too. And the burn's kind of in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a nice
Fan.
burn.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan.
So I'm gonna do the Cody Rhodes. Mm-hmm. So, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I made the joke at the beginning. I was like, we're going to talk about politics and religion, because we don't talk about that on this show. But I thought what might be an interesting conversation is you see how, and we've talked about how conversation has gotten to a point where it seems like people are drawing lines in the sand when it comes to even discussing things.
Right.
And they're deciding that if someone has a difference of opinion to them, that they're just going to cut them off completely or always be antagonistic, right? And Mike is one of my best friends, has been one of my best friends for years. And we have very different opinions on a number of different things. What those things are, honestly, doesn't even matter, right? But the fact that we are always able to have discussions and we're able to talk about like our different points or our different points of view. And sometimes those discussions get heated. Sometimes they get loud. Sometimes, and we have those.
We do.
Right? We were talking last night until literally 5 a.m. about a lot of different things. And like when we were in the car driving home, I was getting heated and I was getting loud. And then like at 4 a.m, Mike was getting heated, Mike was getting loud. And like it was, but there's never ever a period where our ability to our respect level and our friendship is ever even, it's not even up for debate, right? And I think that that's an important thing, and that's one of the reasons that even if we don't talk about that this whole episode, or if it doesn't last that long, that's totally fine with me. But I just wanted to kind of bring it up because I think that for so many people, it seems like they can't do that, right? And I thought it was important to kind of be like, why do we think that is? You know, what is it? I don't think there's anything uniquely special about us that other people can't have in a conversation. But what do you think it is? What do you think it is that like makes it hard for people sometimes to be able to do that?
So, you know, when you're having discussions, are we listening to hear, or are we just listening to, you know, make our point? You know, are we interested in another side?
Yeah.
Right. So, for me, I am interested in what you have to say and what your opinions are. I happen to care for you. I respect you. You know, and I know that you have different opinions, and so you help me see other sides or other angles, and I'm genuinely interested, right, in those. So I think, you know, if you have a genuine care for a person, if you want to learn, if you want to grow and see beyond your perspective, then it's not so hard, you know, not so hard to do. But you know, if you're not interested in learning or growing or opening your mind, then it's gonna be a rough road for you.
I find like this whole like people having difference of opinion and then drawing the line in the sand. I mean, it always existed, but it didn't happen until like COVID. COVID really like created hard stances for people and made certain people go, well, they're this, so I don't like them anymore. And it's like, well, you liked them before.
Right.
And
they didn't change.
Right. They didn't change. It just, the landscape of what was around and the sensationalism behind it, that's what changed. Mm-hmm. Not the person. And I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame that now it's easing up a bit, but I think it is a shame that now we're in a time that everybody's so easily connected with the internet and us and, you know, all that kind of stuff, that we are creating those boundaries for ourselves.
Do you think that the fact that it's easy for people to find their own echo chamber community online, do you think that makes it easier for people to put a wall up with a person that's in front of them that maybe they wouldn't have before? Because before we had online friends, there was maybe a fear of losing a friend, or maybe you valued the people around. I don't want to say you value people more.
I don't think that's the case, because there are certain people who live in an echo chamber.
Sure.
And anybody who lean too far one side or too far the other side are certainly not in an echo chamber. They are out there talking about what they're pushing upon you. Mm-hmm. Right? So, like, the echo chamber thing I get, but I don't understand what makes it so, like, set in one certain way and not open to certain things. Because, again, they're not living in an echo chamber. They're choosing not to. I feel like anybody who I sometimes try to live in an echo chamber where I'm like, okay, well, I don't particularly care for what this person has to say online. I'm going to mute them. Mm-hmm. That's creating an echo chamber. I'm not going out online and going, well, you think that, I'm going to tell you why you're wrong.
Right.
So that's creating your own echo chamber.
Okay.
But when you're out there preaching left, right, middle, whatever, you're definitely not in an echo chamber.
Okay. So what do you think has made it to where people are willing to end relationships with family members or end friendships?
Man, I don't know.
Over things like that. Do you think that, you know, like for both of you, do you think that the sides are so far apart that people are just like, I can't have someone in my life that thinks this way? Or do you think that people are so kind of wanting to establish their point or be part of something, that they are like showing to somebody else, look what I'm willing to do to show that I'm on the side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we are becoming very more polar, right? If we look at the last 4 or 6 years particularly, and whether it's left, right, or center, I think people are definitely gravitating to their side, right? And I've seen that. And so it's definitely happening more, and I think we're going to see more of it. I don't like it, right? I'm rather to have that dialogue and discussion if you're open and honest, right? But I think people are drawing the sand in the line, so to speak.
Right.
And I don't know what a good thing, but yeah, they are. And then people are trying to make their point, and they're trying to stick to it and drive it home. And you talk about an echo chamber. I love having discussions, but sometimes, 4 or 6 years into these discussions, or you're having them with the same groups and same people over time, my dreaded phrase of the safe space.
Right.
And sometimes I need to go find that space just to like decompress.
Yeah.
Right.
That
Because
makes sense.
even having conversation with people that respect, and you can have those hard conversations, it gets tiring, right? You get exhausted, right?
Sure.
So it's very easy to go to a space where everybody kind of thinks the same as you do, and I do that. I've found myself doing that recently because it's like, man, I need a break from this. But what I try not to do is stay in there, right?
Yeah.
And get back out and engage. And it's hard, and I fail sometimes, right? But then I have those conversations like we did. But it's a little easier with you, right? Because we have that. But it keeps me going forward and staying engaged in dialogue. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Do you think that the problem is people are one-sided in the way of, I'm not willing to start hearing what you have to say until you accept my point? Or do you think they're not even thinking in terms like that, and they're just so wrapped up with trying to make their point that they're not even hearing what's, because you and I have both had conversations with people that we find normally to be rational, intelligent people that are like nothing changed. They're not intelligent or rational, but conversations sometimes get completely irrational and unintelligent, and it feels like sometimes you're like, what? Like, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I feel like you're not hearing any words that I'm saying at all.
Right.
And then you start to kind of like put your dukes up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Because you're like, hold on now, I've listened to you. And I gave it to you. Why can't I have the same? Right. I see that sometimes, and I wonder if that, as a whole, is something like people are just so like you said earlier, that it makes a lot of sense. Like, you're not listening. You're just waiting for a pause so that you can start speaking.
Right. Yeah. So,
You know what I
so
mean?
are they really interested in hearing your point? I don't think so.
Right.
I think the temperature's gotten really hot in some of these discussions, whatever they are, right? And people are so much wanting to make their point that they aren't listening anymore. And then we see that polarization, and so it's absolutely happening. So
The other thing I find too is that there are people who are informed and who do the work and do the research and are willing to have that dialogue with you, or I'm sorry, some of them that are informed and stuff and want to still prove their point. But I find it's more the people who aren't educating themselves and aren't getting the right information and aren't informed are the ones that are truly trying to push that agenda, and regardless of if it's just a thing where they can relate because there's a figurehead or whatever. I find it that's more of the problem than it is people having opposing views. I think it's more that, like, well, I gravitated to this side and this is why, and they're not really informed about it, and they're just going to keep going and say all the...
It also seems like there's a fear to ever allow for the side you've picked to have an error.
Oh, yeah.
And like, the one thing I've disagreed with 1000% is like, okay, if I don't like the sides, right? I don't like teams. It doesn't make sense to me because you know what? There are things that both sides do that I completely disagree with, and there are things that both sides do that I agree with. Where I'm like, "Oh, you got a better idea than, than you know." And it seems though that more and more that to choose a side means complete fealty.
Right.
To that way of thinking. And that's not even on the political side. Even if you're like looking at like in an activism type of way. It's like, I believe that this topic or this idea is correct, but I don't agree with this aspect of it or this aspect of it. And then you're completely shunned from it whatsoever because you have not just bowed down and accepted everything.
Right. I think. Yeah.
And I think both sides, for whatever reason, it seems like both sides are like demanding full fealty, and even so people I think are afraid to admit if somebody else has a point because they think somehow that makes them
it makes their
weaker
mission
on their side.
It's a weakness, and somebody's seeking that out, and they're going to exploit that immediately now, right? And they're going hard.
All right. Time out. We've got all these awesome sponsors here.
Right.
Where can they find all the information out for that?
Oh, if only there was a place. If there was only
A portal.
a hub.
A central hub to
A
do so.
central location.
I think there is.
Do we have the technology?
Yes. Baconismypodcast.com is where you can find the best deals on all of our awesome sponsors, including Drink Wild Bills, Pod Decks, Manscaped, all of them. Go over there, find their promo codes. You always get the best deals. But what else can you get over there?
Well, not only can you get the best deals, and we'll always keep those up to date, you can also help out the show by grabbing some t-shirts, some swag. Jump over to the Bacon is My Fashion section. Yeah, there's a whole section. It's just there for you. It's there for you. You can check it out. We have nice t-shirts. They don't chafe. They're nice to the nips. You know I like that.
You know Jimmy's
You know
all
I
about
like
his
that.
nice to the nips.
I'm like the
shirts.
Drax of this show. You
Exactly.
know? I got sensitive nipples, man. I got sensitive
fine.
nipples.
It's
If
fine.
you have sensitive nipples, check that out. And you know what? How about your ear holes? You want to take care of those ear holes? Because you can find links to all of our episodes. How about your eyeballs? You want those eyeballs? You can find links to our YouTube, Strangerhood TV. You can check out everything right from baconismypodcast.com. It's easy. It's super simple. It's right there. What's your bacon?
I will say that when you go to this site, that will be your new bacon.
That will be your new bacon. Check it out.
People are always poking holes in things. It doesn't matter what it is. It regardless of politics or religion or whatever it is, or even you and I, as simple as, okay, do we invest in this? And what do? We try and poke holes in that idea every single time.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people who are hard either side are allowing themselves to poke holes in it, and it's causing that divide.
Which is weird because I think the best ideas come from when you poke holes in everything.
Yeah, that's how you...
Because if I have an idea and I pose it to either of you, right? That idea, I should never be posing that idea as this is the infallible decision of how we go. It should be posing the idea to go, what did I miss?
Right.
Where am I wrong? What are you seeing?
Yeah.
And then seeing if I have an answer to whatever your question is.
Yeah.
And if I don't, then I need to reassess my plan. And I need to reassess where I stand on it. And that reassessment might be, hold on, let me go find the answer. And that assessment might be, you know what, you're right. Okay, I have to adjust my thinking on this. Mm-hmm. I think if you walk through life with the idea that you're not willing to change your mind when presented with better information, I think you're doing a disservice to yourself.
That's ignorance, right?
Yeah,
So I agree. No one has the lock on all knowledge, and to me in my life, I think I have an idea or a concept, the first thing I want to do is ask somebody else, right?
Sure.
I don't know everything. I don't have all the knowledge. I don't have every experience. And I know that certain people in my life have knowledge and experience that I don't. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? I can go to these folks and say, hey, here's my idea. Here's my thought. What do you think, right?
Right.
Especially if you're looking at somebody that is successful or has been there, right? Or maybe has been in that industry, or, they've had those experiences. They have that knowledge. So it's only wise to seek that out. And to that line, I wanted to ask you, when you were talking about education on issues, are we thinking maybe like being educated on your own thoughts and topics, or being educated on the opposition or the opposing side, or both?
I think
Where
it's,
were you?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's I think knowing, obviously the outlets you read, 90% of them have their own agenda, right? So if you're gonna start poking holes in the other side, you should probably read the other side's opinions and viewpoints. Right. If you're gonna kind of stay in your lane and you're gonna still wave that flag and not poke holes in it, then I guess don't read the other side, But if you're gonna stand on a soapbox and rah for whatever side you're on, you should know. You should know what the other side.
You better
is.
have an answer or an
exactly.
idea. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Don't just take what your side says for face value. And I feel like that's the problem is that everybody reads one side, and they're taking everything they read for face value, and you can't. You got to see the other side of things.
Yeah.
And everything on the internet, Facebook wise, is always sensationalized. Everything is always taken out of context. It's taking so they'll take a thing that's a bad idea, and the one side will report about that particular thing, and then everybody jumps on it, and it's like, well, that's stupid because this is what it does. It's like, that's taken out of context.
Well, and if you look at the same report from different
angles,
from different sources, they will be written in a completely different way.
Yes.
Right.
To give, very rarely do you have one source that says, here's this.
Right.
So I think that's tough. But I also think when you're having a discussion with somebody, I think if you can't argue their point, right? If you couldn't have a discussion with someone that thinks the same way as you do, and while talking to them, argue the opposing point to make them talk to you in a way to understand each other better on the side you agree on, I don't think you can have an effective discussion with the person of an opposing viewpoint, because anything you come to them with is going to make them, or has a chance to make them feel like you're talking down to them.
Yeah.
Because you're going to talk to them in a way that assumes that they don't know something, instead of talking to them in a way where said, I already educated myself on this, and this for you, so I'm not going to argue against you and give you a basic, easily slammable point that I'm going to make because I never even bothered to look at your side. If someone comes to me with something that is, if you took 5 more seconds than creating the sentence you just aimed at me, you would already know what I was going to say to it. So we wouldn't have this sentence, and we'd get to the better, deeper one.
Right.
And I think that happens a lot.
Sure.
Too. And that's just, if you ever did debate in school, you learn, if you can't argue the opposing point, you're going to lose.
How are you going to make your own?
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to really quick just kind of look at what we have. We have, for those of you listening that are listening on our regular release, all these discussions and drinks we do live to our patrons. And we do that every Sunday. And so we are here on a Sunday hanging out with them. And I just want to see kind of what we've got in there. We've got, I've always said disagreements. Disagreement is not hate, it's just disagreement. Some people don't understand that. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people just need to be right and come from a defensive angle instead of, like you said, a learning point. When two sides are bent on being right, there's no room for a solution. Donna, I think that's spot on.
Yeah.
You know, if you're coming at something with a need to be right, then you're not coming at something with any actual conviction that you're right. You know, if you feel confident in what you're going to say, then you should be absolutely willing to hear what somebody else has to say.
Right.
Right? You shouldn't be shutting things down immediately. And I see a lot of that where someone can't even get a sentence out and people are shutting it down. If they say one word, that it's almost like people are waiting for the one thing that they can interrupt you on.
Yeah.
And go like, you know.
Because they are.
Right, exactly.
Because they are.
And man, that's a hard person to talk to. I don't care what it's about. If I'm talking to you about a recipe for something, and I say the word salt when I meant to say the word pepper, and you interrupt me and start talking to me like I'm a dumbass, like I'm immediately like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, like, and now we're no longer talking about the recipe. I'm defending my ability to know how to cook.
Right.
And I shouldn't have to do that. I should just be able to go, I misspoke, let me correct it. Let me give you my actual point. And instead of somebody waiting for that and just going like, nope, that's what you said, and now it's my turn, I'm going to go. You've tagged me in because you made a mistake. You know, like, X, you're out, shut up now until I make a mistake, and I'm not gonna. You know, like, and I think that happens sometimes. So good point, Donna. There's always room for a solution, but both sides have to be willing to get there. Bill, you're absolutely right. I agree too. You know, like you can't just go into a situation going, I'm going to get this person to think the way I think. You have to come into a situation going, I'm going to meet this person in the middle and see where we both end up. Right? And maybe there are times where I've had conversations with you where I came away from that conversation thinking differently than I did when I went in.
Same here.
And I think that's what we're supposed to do. That's how we grow. That's how we become smarter, better, more capable human beings. Right? And I think that's such an important thing.
And that doesn't just pertain to politics.
No.
That is
life.
That is life in general. Like the reason why, like, let's just dumb it down to music. The reason why I have my like sounding board of people to shoot new music to is not because I think I'm right all the time.
Right.
It's because
it's not because they all tell you how awesome you are.
Right. I don't want all cheerleaders. I want opinions. I want you to poke holes in certain things and go, hey, this could be better because of this. And that's why I have that sounding board. It's not to have everybody go, yeah, that's great, keep going, do the same thing, you know?
You're trying to improve or perfect your product or your craft or whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
Right? Or grow and expand beyond where you're at.
And it's the same, like you were saying. You deal with people who have dealt with certain aspects of the business. Yeah, you're going to use them as a sounding board. Hey, this is the design I came up with. What do you think? Where can this improve? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that is super important. And I think that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's politics, music, furniture. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When you have an idea and you want it to grow and you want yourself to grow, you bounce that idea off people and you take criticism. You take it and you go, okay. You try and digest it and you try and make whatever you have better from it.
Constructive criticism, right?
Right.
And
yes.
People that say I'm brutally honest. So I'm like, well, what do you like about the brutality or the honesty part?
Right.
Because
that's a good point.
You know, because I don't appreciate people that you know they enjoy that brutality so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty, but do you have to be so brutal about it?
Right.
You don't even have to sugarcoat or you know tap dance around me, but what's your angle?
But this isn't Mortal Kombat.
Exactly. Right.
You know.
I will take constructive criticism any day, but I don't need the brutality either. Right. We're all people, and we're trying to.
Yeah,
so,
that's an
that's
excellent
always my
point
thought
too.
on that.
Yes.
So I find that like what you just brought up, I think is super interesting too, because I don't think that it's rare for people to do that in their normal life. I think people generally want to talk to people so that they learn. Like if we're not talking about specific things that tend to turn people off, if we're talking about other aspects of their life, right? If we talk about music, you want somebody that's going to give you feedback and constructive criticism. I think that goes for people in their jobs. I think that goes for people that are looking for advice from people on raising their families. I think that goes for recipes. I think that goes for people in all aspects of their life. So what is it that makes people suddenly turn that off or forget about that when they're interacting with another person when the topic is switched? You know, like, and I understand, like, they call things wedge topics for a reason, right? But it's interesting to me that someone can have this outlook that I feel most people have of, yeah, I'm willing to learn from anybody that has done something that I'm doing and has different information.
I think people saying that and people actually feeling that are two completely different things.
But it's still very specific. It's niched. I'm 100% a giving and receiving person until this topic.
I think, especially working, working with other people a lot, and in the business that I was working in, I find that a lot of people are not coming to you to say, what do you think about this? For you to tell them why they need to go, not necessarily back to the drawing board,
right?
But hey man, like, why don't you try this instead? I think less people are looking for that than they are for a pat on the back or pat on the back.
Validation.
Okay.
Really.
So I think it's very validation.
A very self-centered.
I feel like
and that's
most people are
unfortunate.
doing that more for validation rather than.
I know there's a lot of hug chasers in the world, and there's a lot of people that need an attaboy.
There are more of those than there are. I've come into contact with than people who are using that as a way to grow.
Interesting. Okay.
So not wise people, poor decisions.
Right. I wonder if that's because of the different industries that we're kind of like I'm surrounded by the music industry, right? And whether that's the big part of the music industry because I'm in a band, because we're in the podcast and we talk to musicians, or whether it's the small part of I'm a teacher and I'm working with students and I'm working in that. So the people that I interact with 90% of the time are not looking for an attaboy. It seems like when I'm approached with a question, or not even approached with a question, because that's a whole different thing, because that's asking for something, right? And that's, you are coming into that wanting constructive criticism or whatever if you're asking for it. At least I feel. But if I end up in a conversation with somebody, I guess that where I am, even when I was working at the bar, like it seemed like everybody kind of was like willing to listen and willing to engage and point, counterpoint, and all those kind of things in every single topic. But for whatever reason, once you got to, and I'm not even going to go with a religion one, because I think that's just you. If you're dealing in faith and belief and things like that, then yeah, there's hard lines, and that's there's hard lines. But even if you're talking about a political ideal, it becomes, I'm no longer going to talk to you the same way that I was talking to you about this other thing that we were talking about. Like, my whole demeanor changes, and the whole, and it's like, whoa, what just happened here? What turned here that became like, you're so ready to fight when the topic switches. That's such a trigger that immediately you're like, it's like a shark going in for a kill. Shut the eyes, to protect them, close off the ears,
Yeah.
and bite.
Yeah. So you found their passion points, right?
Right.
And I think you nailed it. Where in certain topics, religion, politics, there are lines, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get, I think, especially again, not to the last 4 to 6 years, you're getting close to those lines, and people are getting way more aggressive and that. And I did want to ask you, like when you were talking to, we were just saying about in the music industry and being surrounded, thanks, sir, and you find that people are, that's a creative sort of mind and person. And I
Yeah,
find that
sure.
those people are more willing to be open, right? My question for you specifically then is, on their journey, whether they're, in their first band or writing their first song or they've done their sophomore album, where's that mind space at then? Or how do they relate? Does it matter, that willingness to be open if they're newer into that or they're a little more further along? Do you see how
That's a good
does that
question.
address? I was
That's-
curious what you find in your
Yeah,
industry.
no, that's a good question. I find that throughout the entire journey, there's an openness to ideas and discussion and point counterpoint and things like that. But I will say, I think the earlier that they are in their journey or career or whatever, they're less open than the further along they get, because I think as you move further along, you start to realize that you don't have the answers, because you think things are a certain way and you are quickly shown that they're not.
So you start out very fresh. You've got all these ideas, and you're
Yes.
ready to conquer the world,
Right.
And
And
then
you're
reality
like,
hits you.
I don't want
even know-
to. I don't want to
I don't
hear
even
from
know
this
about-
guy that I don't. Yo, I'm not doing it the way that you did it.
Yeah.
I've got other plans, and I get that, and
Okay.
I'm 100% for that. But I do feel that like as they go, it's like, what was it that you were saying about this again? Because
Yeah.
I just encountered a
Hey, wait a
situation.
minute.
Yeah, right.
I also think like when it comes to a new band, and not necessarily somebody new to doing things in a band. I'm talking about like a new project or whatever. I do think that they start out as a vision for somebody.
Okay.
So yes, please. So it is very much like in my head when I started this last project, I was like, okay, well, this is what I hear. And when it came to like that first 1 or 2 songs, I didn't go to my sounding board as much, because I was like, okay, this is kind of the course I want to go.
Right.
But-
You have a confidence and a knowledge of where you're going to go on that road map, and you know how to
Yeah.
get there. Maybe is that?
Not even necessarily. Now, I didn't go, okay, guys, get ready for this because this is gonna knock your socks off, and this is gonna be
I'm about
the
to
way-
blow your mind.
This is gonna be the new future. Like no, your expectations are definitely got to be in the right spot. But I do think for me it was kind of let me see if I can flesh this out in my head, put it on to make it something, and then I can show it to my sounding board going, okay guys, this is kind of what I'm going for. And then once I started writing and stuff, it was a constant like back and forth
Right.
or whatever. But I definitely thought that finding that sound that I heard in my head
Yeah.
and going, okay, I think this is the route I want to go. Establishing the baseline.
You're going to sprout it.
That's
Right,
I
right.
think that's probably the best way to describe it. Establishing a baseline.
Okay.
And then working from there.
That's fair. I probably do that with songwriting.
Well, I don't
You know.
think you do that with like Craving Strange stuff because
Well, no, I think I do. I think I come in because it's effort for me to come into the room and go, okay, guys, I didn't finish this on purpose. Let's go. Right? That was a very decision. That was a decision that I made, and that's not always easy to do. Because, you do have a vision in your head. Or when we're in the mixing process and I'm like, this song's going to be a dance song. And we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. A lot of times, it's probably, and looking at it and looking at myself going, it's probably hard to talk me out of things sometimes. Now, the thing is, though, I'll always have the discussion. I'll always sit there, but I will come to it from I have a vision. I know how I want this to go. I have an idea, and this is what I think is right. So you have to really be passionate about your
Knock my socks off
counterpoint
here.
and show me why we should try that, because I can tell you every single reason why I think this is the way to go. So I need just as much from you for me to change course. I can't change course because you were like, I don't know.
Help me get there.
Right, yeah. So I might. It's a good point, because I might walk into situations like that a little more closed-minded than I would in other aspects of my life. So yeah, I might compartmentalize that as well. I still feel like I don't know. And maybe this is blowing roses up my own ass, but like I still feel like I'm willing to have that conversation, and I'm always willing to be proven wrong. But sometimes you got to prove it a little better than other times. Like sometimes you just got to make me think, and I can go, all right, you've made me think. Let's try a couple things and see what works best. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, no, I need your full plan. I need more. Don't give me half of a vision. I need a whole, because I have a whole vision. Don't come at me with half of one or an idea, because now you're asking me to come up with the rest of your argument.
Yeah.
You're asking for me to finish your sentence that you're trying to prove your point to me with.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need to do that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that bleeds in. It might. It might. What's up, guys? We got a little hint for you here. A little secret. How do you help the show? We've been asked. Here's a way to help the show. Check us out over at patreon.com/baconismypod. You can get lots of extra stuff.
Yeah, like additional shows, ad-free episodes, early episodes. Shoot. Every Sunday, we record our discussions and drinks live with our patrons.
Yeah, so you can have a drink with us while we do it. You can watch us cook things. You can watch us eat things. You can just support the show. And that helps us keep putting these out. It helps us just
keep the show free.
Keep the show free. So thank you guys so much for supporting all of you over on Patreon already. Our patrons, you guys are our lifeblood. Thank you guys so much. And if you want to help out the show and you want to jump on, and you want to be part of that BIMP squad, jump over to patreon.com/baconismypod. Do you ever feel like I'm approaching a conversation with you, like when we get into heated conversations, that I'm ever approaching it like that?
No, you're always very open and reasonable. You've pressed me on things. Tell me why.
Yeah.
Tell me why. I mean, you will hear my idea or my thought on it, and then you will say, "Tell me more. Tell me why. What makes you feel that way?" Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but not in an aggressive way or real hardcore.
Right. Okay. Good. I hope not. I hope not.
No.
And just real quick, like to take it back to like the industry stuff and whatnot. Like, Mike, I'm not entirely sure if you said you're from a sales background and stuff like that, but like in the music space and being a teacher as well, where people are coming to you as a teacher, like. They're learning from you.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a little bit of a different point of view when it comes to like people who live that, like, this is my idea and this is how I feel and this is tried and true and that's it. Mm-hmm. I came from a very like high pressure. There was sales involved, lots of logistics, lots of things where it was interesting because the company itself wanted, like, the bigger picture people wanted to grow. But the people under that who were on the feet, like the feet on the street and were going, yeah, we want to grow and stuff. When you present ideas, they were like, no, just no. No, this is no good. Or no, we can't do that.
That's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. And I was met because it wasn't necessarily a creative space, and I was one of the few creatives in that company, So when I went to the higher ups, they appreciated that.
Yeah.
They saw that and they were like, "Oh, these are cool ideas. This is let's try and like figure out how we can implement them." And then when you go more of a ground level, they were like, "No, we can't change that." Like, well, you're saying that it doesn't work well, so here are some ideas to maybe improve it.
Right.
No. It's like, can we try it?
Yeah.
No. So that's just kind of the where I came from, and even again, and I don't want to shit on contractors or anything, but like they're the people they were my clientele.
That means he's about to shit on contract.
They were my clientele, and
Yeah.
it was like, okay, like I get it. You want this thing. It is now 5:00. We closed at 4:30, and you want a roof to your job site at 7:00 in the morning. We can't get there till 7:30. No, this is bullshit. Well, no, it's not bullshit, because you're not done ripping a roof until 8:30, 9:00. So if we get there at 7:30, 8:00, you're still not going to touch it for another hour.
Right. You're showing a perspective, right? And
Yeah.
what the reality of the
And it's-
situation
and
is.
It's like, hey guys, like let's get creative here. Let's make this work for all of us.
Right.
And everybody, not everybody, but most of the people, when you're working consumer kind of thing or point of sale kind of thing, I find that a lot of people are me. No, this is what I want, and this is how I want it, and this is the right way, and that's just kind of the perspective I'm coming at it from, because those are the people that I've dealt with in the past, and those are the kind of things that I dealt with where your ideas and opinions and solutions don't necessarily matter because they're wrong.
Right.
And that's just kind of like, I find that from a lot of, I'm super fortunate now, but I find that in a lot of industries, that a lot of people behind desks in 9-to-5 normal workforce jobs kind of thing that don't necessarily deal with creative or anything like that. I find that to be the majority, personally. Mm-hmm. Just when you talk to people like that, like unless you are immersed in, the world of creatives and
Right.
that kind of thing, or if you're talking from a teacher's perspective and they're looking up to you.
Right. Well, or I'm talking to other teachers, or I'm talking to people
Right.
that own a school. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like and there's always reasons.
Right.
For that.
You're talking to the higher scope of thing, the big picture people.
Right. Right.
As
And
opposed to
they're
the
usually,
people-
if you own a music school, you're probably partially a creative.
You're also a creative, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, or maybe not, but I've been lucky so far to where
Sure.
I've had the people that I've worked with have been people that the reason that they wanted me there was because I thought outside the box, or because I was creative, or because I offered ideas, or because I pointed out things that could be different. I haven't been, in a very long time, I haven't been in a situation that frowned upon that. So
Right.
I might even be in a Pollyanna situation, you know what I mean? To where I look at things a certain way. And that's realistic, to
Yeah.
think that. I just tend to think that you have to be willing to be wrong, and you have to be willing to be proven wrong.
I
Now,
agree.
it's definitely okay to say, well, I'm willing to be wrong, but you really got to prove it, right?
Right.
But I don't think it's okay, and okay. I think one of the problems is that people go into situations where they're like unwilling to be wrong.
Sure.
They're like, there is no other perspective that I'm even going to listen to, because I'm not wrong, unless what you're going to say is going to back up what I have just, or what I already believe. Then you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's a lonely place to be if you're the smartest person on earth. You know, I don't know the smartest person on earth. I know a lot of very smart people.
Yeah.
I certainly don't know the smartest person on earth. You know, or maybe I do, because the smartest person on earth would never
Isn't gonna
claim
let
to be
you.
the smartest person on earth.
Yeah. I think that's I think that's really important. Humility and the ability to be humble.
Yeah, I want to jump back here real quick, back to our Patreons. If you want to be a part of the Patreon crew, you can jump over to patreon.com/baconismypod and you can join up. Check it out. This would be live for you, and you would be able to interact with us and jump on. I do want to look in here really quick. People tend to get tunnel vision when they believe in something. I've done it myself. Also, hi, I'm safe in my house now. I'm glad you're not driving anymore, G. But yeah, good point. You're absolutely right. People do get that tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is a dangerous thing. I've been victim of it many times where I'm like, I've got to get to this goal and that's it, and nothing is allowed in on either side. Mm-hmm. And you're missing a lot of opportunity there of learning. And if I've learned nothing else in life by being a musician and doing this podcast and doing all that, is that, man, you have to have your eyes open to every single turn and road and possible change in the way, because when a roadblock comes up and you can pivot and change your thought process and change your goal and change where you're going in the small scale so that you can still head towards your big scale goals, that makes you a more successful person just as a human.
Yeah.
Where if every roadblock just stops you in your tracks, if every dissenting opinion stops you in your tracks, if everything becomes a put your dukes up and fight, then you're not going to get very far, right? Because you're not willing to pivot. Mm-hmm. It's Waterworld, bitches. Grow gills. Mm-hmm. Figure it out. Adaption, that's how we survive. That's how we get places. We also have hood chasers. I didn't say hood chasers. I said hug chasers.
Hug chasers.
If you think about it, you know what a hug chaser is. Be critical. It helps with growth. I know I'm not the best guitar player ever. Point out what you see, and I can learn from that. I will agree with that 100%, Bill, but also it does depend on how the person's pointing it out.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, so to the other end of that, when we're not talking about growing and being open and all this to learn. So let's talk about those roadblocks. Let me ask you your thoughts, and Mike as well.
Sure.
So it's not all roses, and people are taking the lawnmowers to your flowers sometimes, right? There's saboteurs, there's backstabbers.
Yeah.
In that aspect of it, I mean, because there are people that are out to harm you, to fail you. They don't want you to succeed, right? Mm-hmm. So here I'm open, I'm engaging, I'm all this and that, but I've got somebody mowing my flowers, man. What do you think about that? How do you handle that? Or how would you engage them or not engage them? Or what's your thought perspective there dealing with that kind of situation, right? You're open, but they're not, and people actively roadblocking you, actively sabotaging you, or trying to,
That's a really good. Do you want to field first?
Oh no, I mean,
because that's a great question.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I have luckily.
See, this is why I love talking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, like I knock on wood. I don't think I've had people intentionally knocking me down in my, even in that in that world of corporate or whatever you want to call it. I don't ever feel like I've had somebody specifically trying to knock me down or whatever. Could it have been happening? Sure, absolutely. It's probably a little bit of my delusional optimism.
Okay.
That's fair, man. That's fair. That's fair.
So from that regard, like I don't even think I've really dealt with it, but I'm a head-on kind of person.
You're super fortunate, man. I mean, that's great that you have it.
I mean, I feel like if it ever has happened, it got squashed pretty quickly because I don't pussyfoot around.
You're addressing it. You're grabbing it.
Yeah.
I go, okay, well, there's a problem here, so let's fix it. Like, that's it.
Right.
There's one or two instances in my life that it may not have been worked out, but it wasn't for lack of trying. Mm-hmm. and it wasn't for lack of me going, hey, it's all out on the table. Let's talk about this. Like, let's figure this out. So yeah, like I said, I'd take it on head on. I'd go right to the person. I wouldn't go on my platform and go, well, this is why this person's an asshole. I would go right to them and be like, hey, this is what you're doing. That's making you an asshole.
Right.
Let's figure out why that is, and figure out what I'm doing is making you be an asshole. Maybe you're just by nature an asshole. Or maybe you're misconstruing something I'm doing as harmful to you.
Yeah.
I'm willing to talk about it.
That's a mature attitude and way to go about it, right? And
Yeah.
I appreciate the direct response.
Yeah, I don't do the sad Facebook post of like
Right.
one day karma's gonna bite you in the ass.
Big ... Everybody. That's a hug chaser, by the
That's a
way.
hug chaser.
That's a hug chaser.
Yeah, I don't do cryptic tweets or cryptic posts or anything like that. I go, all right, well, if that's the situation, we were talking about it earlier, like I could have very well had, talking about a particular situation that we're dealing with the podcast. I could have gone, well, that sucks. These people suck.
Right.
And instead I was like, okay, well, how do we be what we're supposed to be for you? If we're out of our league, please tell me. If you tell me that you're out of our league and we should stop barking up this tree, tell me. But tell me what I need to be. Mm-hmm. And that's that.
It's interesting because I had this idea in my head of how I deal with things, and then you brought that up, and I just thought back to my immediate reaction to that. And my immediate reaction was like, oh, well, how about they go fuck...
All shields up, right?
And so I think that there's a version of me that is in my head that I like to think that I am. And I think that I try really hard to be that person. And I think that I fail consistently, but I also succeed consistently. I can say that I definitely have had people that have mowed my flowers consistently. I think that I don't think I've ever had anybody do it in a deliberate to sabotage me way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's been more of it's who they are, and I have a problem where the one thing I'm not is I'm not the kind of person that excommunicates people from my life very easily. I hang in there, and I allow abuse, and I allow this, and I try and find a way around it, and I try and figure out a way to communicate with the person to go, and I'm direct. I'll look at that person in the face and I'll be like, yo, here's how you're mowing my flowers. Mm-hmm. Here's the lawnmower that you're using.
Right.
And here's when and how you're doing it. How can we stop this?
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I'll write songs about it. There you go. I'll write songs about them.
Perfect.
To deal with it on my end.
Yeah.
Just because it's either that or, drink way too much or drive off a bridge. So I think I probably don't have the best ways of dealing with that, because what I tend to do is I tend to try and fix it. Mm-hmm. And while I'm trying to fix it, I pull it like an anchor with me.
Okay.
And that's probably the most honest answer I can give you on that.
Yeah.
It's, again, my immediate reaction was like, well, I face it head on and I deal with it. But I do and I don't.
Situational.
Yeah. Well, no, I deal with it, but I don't stop it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? I deal with it and try to stop it, but I try and stop it in a way where I'm like, let's communicate, let's figure it out, let's find a middle ground, let's do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if the other party is not willing to do that, but they're like, yeah, sure, I'll talk to you, and you'll continue to do things that help me, and I'll continue to be the way that I am, whether or not it hurts you. That makes it tough. I've had and the what's funny is the people that do that I've noticed are usually the people that are the closest to you. And again, not on purpose, and not it's just people are different.
Yeah.
And you deal with different people, and if you're a person that is if you're a person that's empathetic, and you're a person that wants things to work, and you're a person that doesn't want to leave no man behind, right? I think that it's easy for someone to just, okay, I'm not going to cut your flowers anymore, and then they only clip half of them for a while.
Right.
Right? Or they don't clip them for a little while, or they change from a mower to a weed whacker for a little bit, you know, and then it just keeps coming back up, and eventually you have to deal with it, and eventually I do deal with it,
Right.
And it either gets solved or it gets eliminated. But I think I probably take a lot longer to do that. I don't know, like, you've known me for a long time, and you've watched me through a lot of this.
Yeah.
So I imagine that question is also born from, like, I've seen you.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I think that's
Different
the most-
facets and
right,
different
right.
strategies.
I
Sure,
think
sure.
that's the most honest. Well, and both of you have seen me. Both of you have sat me down at times. and been
I've known
like,
you. I've known you for way less
Right.
than Mike has known you, and
Right.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
Right. So yeah, I think both of you are you know, like, if I said anything different, both of you would be looking at me and be like, "You're full of shit." So I think that's the most honest I can be on that.
Well, I appreciate both of those responses, and they're great. So thanks for your perspective there.
What about you? How do you?
Yeah, I'm gonna tag right on. I mean,
Yeah.
if we can have those conversations and address it, that's fine. But sometimes people don't want to do that, right? And
Yeah.
and so you've got to be the better person, the stronger person. But my perspective coming from the corporate world or sales world too,
Mm-hmm.
there's always an asshole, right? He's bigger, better than you, or he thinks he is, right? And they do things to get in your way. They steal your sales. They knock off, whatever they can do. And so you can try to address that. That's been a situation in my life, right? And
Yeah.
and the guy wants to try to dominate me because he's 6 foot tall and get in my nose, and you're not scaring me that way, man.
Right.
But what I found is I let my work speak for myself, right? Be perfect if you can,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Right.
Be perfect.
Right.
I'm going to do my. There's no way that I don't give a shit what this guy thinks. Now I can't have him messing up my mojo, right? You
Right,
can't be
yeah,
getting in
yeah.
my way. But from the client's perspective, or from the bosses, right, the people that matter to me and affect my life, I'm doing the best I can, and I'm succeeding every time. So I let my work, right? I let my work speak for
Yeah.
myself. I let the clients speak for me, and then that guy falls away, right? And,
Yeah, yeah.
and so you do have to hang in there. You got to have the thick skin. Take the bullets and just
Yeah.
keep motoring on most of the time. And that's in the corporate world. That's how I
Yeah.
try. If you're a friend of mine and you're being an asshole,
Right.
and I'm going to try to be direct with you, I'm going to be more patient, right? I'm
Use
gonna
a little bit more liberties as well.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, my
right.
livelihood doesn't hinge on this.
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
So it's an emotional investment. You have a relationship, right? And you don't want to throw those away. You're not cutting people out early, right? Of
course, right.
That's it. So you will have that patience. You will give that grace to that people, and hopefully you can explain what the mower is,
Yeah.
right? And then that they'll get it. And then I think sometimes if they're not responding or they get to a point, you have to distance yourself. And I'm not saying cut them off forever or
Right, right.
completely. Sometimes that needs to happen, right? But you take some space,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe they fall away, or they come back to you. They're like, "Hey, man, you haven't called me in a while, or you haven't come over, or we're not doing
Right,
shit
right.
together, right? Well, dude, you were kind of a prick to me, right? So
Yeah,
Going
maybe
through
I
that right now.
was. It's a
I've,
little
I've
different.
had that conversation
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah, and,
so-
those kind of conversations generally end up working out well.
Yeah.
Right? You're absolutely right.
I'm-
How do you either avoid or deal with the people that kind of get in your head?
That's tough. It is.
Right? Like, 'cause
yeah.
it's one thing to block you goal wise.
Yeah.
It's another thing to make you second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe not even on a big level. You know, like you're a pretty confident guy. You're not.
I'm not.
You're not. Right. I'm here and there. Right. So it's like when there are times when you have someone that you do appreciate their work or their opinion or their knowledge or their this, that, or the other. And those people have a unique way of not even trying, but being able to get in your head and make you second guess whether you are standing on solid ground or not.
Right. And yeah, so that's going to happen, and there's always that doubt, and it can creep in, right? So then you have to go back to the basics, right? And, you know, look at the situation. Am I doing the right thing? Am I responding in the right way, right? If it's the corporate world, am I doing this the right way? Am I satisfying my customer? Am I meeting their needs? Are they happy with me? What are they saying?
Sure.
What is my boss saying, right? And then you know, it is part of those shields where at some point you just kind of have to block it out, and you realize that they're trying to sabotage you or screw you up.
Outside of the corporate world, you know, if we get back to like what we started this on, when you're having conversations, if you're having a conversation with a friend and you respect that friend, right? And maybe they're not being insulting, and maybe they're not, you know, like that. But they're, whatever they're doing, they're making you feel like, for whatever reason, they're making you, they're getting in your head.
So are they right? I mean, look.
Right.
I mean, is there some truth? Is there a grain of truth to what they're saying?
Sure.
So, introspective. Look at myself, right?
Yeah.
Look at this situation, and is there some area where what they're saying is true? Am I making a mistake? Have I done something right? So that's the first thing: introspection, correction, right?
Yeah.
Fix myself up. Make sure I'm doing.
Everybody listening. First step: look at yourself.
Introspection,
right?
Yeah.
And that's like, I knew that's how you were going to answer that. And I just think that's important for listeners.
Yeah.
Because if you are second guessing or someone's making you second guess, the first step is always look at yourself.
Right.
Go, okay, let me reassess.
What do I need? Am I functioning or acting in the right way? Is there something that I need to fix, honestly, right? And sometimes I'll seek out counsel of a good friend or family member, right? Somebody I respect. Hey, man, here's something that's happening. Let me share this with you. You know, here's what's happening. What do you think? But look inside, see if you're doing the right thing, and then it does get back to having that conversation with the person. If they're a friend, you're hoping they got to come from a position of open honesty or care, love, and respect, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they have that. If they do, you said like it usually ends up okay.
Right.
If it doesn't, then you have to start questioning that friendship or their responses. Maybe they're not your friend. Maybe they don't care, right? And or what happened to them, right? Is it a problem with me, or are they having issue? Dude, what is going on in your life?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Where it's the issues compounding in their life end up
So I don't go to that
reflecting
area
that.
right away. I'm going to look at myself and then try to have that conversation. And ultimately, it's like, all right, dude, but who hurt you?
Right.
That's wrong, you know.
Well, and also doing that, you're giving them the opportunity to then look at themselves.
Absolutely.
Right? And that, to bring it all back around, that is why we can have a conversation where if we completely are on opposite sides of a thing, we can have a conversation where we both learn something.
Right.
We disagree completely. We don't leave it with, nobody has to win.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
We both win because we both learned something.
We've thought about it.
About the other.
Yeah.
And we've been open
Regardless
enough.
of if you like it or not.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Fair.
both people came into it and took the opportunity to look at themselves and go, am I coming at this from a weird spot?
Right.
Let me hear what he
Yes.
just said. Let me absorb what he just said.
Yeah.
And let me think about that. And how do I feel about what he just said? Let me take away any need I have to be right, or
Get rid of the self.
Any need I have to have a counterpoint. Like sometimes if someone makes a point on you, it's okay to shut the fuck up because you don't have a point back. That doesn't mean you lose.
Right.
That means you just gained something.
You just learned something. Right.
Exactly.
Some wisdom, some knowledge.
Lay
It's
out.
really cool that you said that about not having to like it one way or another.
Yeah.
And Jim and I's massive conversation last night.
Yeah.
I think both of us a couple times. You don't have to like it.
Right.
But here's the reality, or here's the
Right.
situation. Right.
And that's
Yeah.
and to your point with the not having a point. Don't just have a point or repeat something else that's been
Right.
said just to have the last word.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Period. The sentence has ended. The discussion or that point has ended. You don't have to go back and retrace your steps to rehash those same things again.
Something that I've been working really hard on is
Yeah.
letting letting that person have the last word. Right?
Me too. Yeah.
I don't always have to counter that. I don't always, even if I'm right or they're wrong or whatever, let them have that moment, and it doesn't matter because
I will say, last night when we had our conversation,
Yeah.
right? You went upstairs to use the restroom. You came down, and the first thing you said was, "Did you have another point that you were trying to get to? I just had to walk away for a second and go upstairs. Did you before I say anything? Did you have anything that you didn't get to say?" Right? And I noticed that, and I was like, man, like that's
Respect.
Yeah.
That's
and that's what it is.
well,
It
and
is.
it is, and it always goes. I'm glad he's like that. I need to make sure that I'm like that as well, and I think that that's super important. And I think that that's a huge thing, and I think that is honestly a great way to leave this because we are an hour and 20 minutes in. Let's see. I have so true. Looking inward is never easy, but always necessary. Inward introspect is the hardest thing for many to do. Some people's kids are so closed that they're incapable of looking inward. I tend to avoid these people in the future. I like that our group right now is having a conversation with each other about
he said
the ways that they are.
He said he meant minds, not kids.
Minds, not kids, right. But still, they're not even talking to us at this point. They're talking to each other about this.
Yeah.
And I think that is the point. And that's what the point of this whole thing is how to create a situation where you're not always needing to be right, but you're always needing to continue that conversation and continue that learning and continue the dialogue so that you can be a part of something. Being a part of something doesn't mean you're on the winning side. It just means that you're part of something.
It's being something bigger than just yourself.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our
Mike.
group and our family.
Thank you for joining us, man. This
Hell yeah,
was
man.
cool.
super awesome.
This was
was
honestly
a,
one of my favorite episodes.
I mean, last week we went completely off the rails.
Right.
Talking about how IPAs taste like butthole.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That
Wow.
was last week.
That was last
This
week.
show can be anything.
Did
But
Garavac
this-
go with that?
What's that?
Did he go with that?
Yeah, I don't like
premises?
IPAs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are the black sheep.
I am the black sheep. Yeah.
You know the Garavac
My brothers,
is all AP,
my
right?
brothers,
Yeah.
my dad. Oh yeah.
Talking about
yeah.
you.
Absolutely. I'm the black sheep.
I don't know if they
Forever.
listened to this yet.
Okay.
Or the last episode yet. Could make for some awkward conversation at Christmas.
It could.
But,
Because
hey,
that's what we drank was the Christmas gift.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So, guys, thank you so much, and Mike, thank you so much for hanging out.
Thanks.
It was
Thanks.
awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
Thanks for hanging out and being part of this. And remember, everybody, like if you're having a conversation with a friend, and or if you've cut off a friend, or if you find yourself in that situation, remember that your relationships, the people around you, the people that mean something to you, mean more than these ideas that don't let the outside world create a side for you to be on. Talk to people.
Yeah.
Figure out where you agree, figure out where you disagree, and move forward together doing that. Because that's how we make a better world for us instead of being controlled by them.
Agreed.
Thank you guys for hanging out. We appreciate you. We appreciate everything. Clean your nuts.
And always remember to ask yourself. We're gonna let Mike do this.
Yeah, the number one question. What is that thing that makes your life better? What is that thing that makes your heart more full? What is that thing that makes everything better in your life?
What's your bacon?
You asking us?
No, I'm telling you.
Oh, okay.
Goddamn right he is.
What's your bacon?
Thanks, guys.
Good night, guys.
How those balls looking?
You know what season it is, right?
I do indeed. It is time.
It is time for smooth sack summer. And how do I keep everything smooth, everything tidy, everything the way it should be?
Well, I don't know how you do, but I'll tell you how I do. Manscaped, buddy. You know how much we love the crop mops. You know how much we love the lawnmower, but they have the Performance Package 4.0 now.
They did a little upgrade to the Weed Whacker. Weed Whacker is, of course, the nose and ear hair trimmer. It is now the 2.0. And also, they are getting into the beard game. They've got their brand new beard trimmer, which is fantastic. So go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code BACONPOD, and that will give you 20% off and free shipping.
That's right. So don't forget to work on those testicles, your chesticles, and your cheeks. Keep them clean and ask yourself, what's your bacon?